Innovation, doing something new, something different, changing something, modifying something. So this involves some sort of difference, some sort of originality, some creativity. Invention is the extreme part where you do something completely new, invent something entirely different. Innovation might be maybe major or minor changes, whereas invention is from almost creating something new. So we place a lot of value on different thinking, new thinking, and all that. And I think the movement was given birth by probably by Edward de Bono when he wrote a book called Lateral Thinking. And then he wrote other books about six thinking hats and all that. And he talked about developing thinking itself, how to think, teaching people how to think. And then he also, I think, spoke about left brain and right brain. And left brain is supposed to be more logical, whereas right brain is supposed to be more creative, more intuitive, more innovative. So, and he came up with the terms convergent and divergent thinking. Convergent thinking is again more logical, whereas divergent thinking is a bit different, a bit creative, a bit original, a bit innovative, kind of a thing. So, he believed that people can be taught to be innovative, can be taught to think innovatively. Again, complex subject. Maybe people can be taught to be more creative or more innovative. Maybe some are basically more innovative. I don't know. I think generally some people are very curious. Some children can be very curious. And curiosity is the beginning, probably, of this process. But sometimes we kill this curiosity by either giving them too much information or asking them not to ask questions. So curiosity means you have a thirst for knowledge and you ask a lot of questions. But we don't like it when people ask too many questions. The education system doesn't like questions too much. So teachers would get tired and say, now shut up and listen, don't ask so many questions. Just this is the syllabus, you learn from this. So generally the education system is guilty of killing of curiosity and innovative thinking in children. Either by giving them too much information, then they can absorb. I mean, they are not ready for it. They want to learn at their own pace and they have their own way of learning. But we have a standardized menu and we force feed that. And there is no time for self exploration, self discovery, or asking questions and doing it on your own at your own pace. The answers are given to you, and don't ask questions beyond the syllabus, don't bother about it. So that is something that we have to really look at if we want to develop creative and innovative thinking. We also need to, so asking questions, why not, these are important. Like we always had blackboards and white chalks, and somebody said, why does the board have to be black and the piece of chalk have to be white? And then we started having whiteboards with marker pens. So basically it is about challenging tradition and established practices, thinking for oneself, asking questions, not just blindly accepting things. So one would have to have a sense of disrespect, healthy disrespect for tradition and seniority. So if we are in this too much of a respect or obedience mode for traditions and old people and seniority and all that, we will never ever challenge them. We will never ask questions and we will never come up with new answers or new things, because whatever has been done is the best possible thing. So we will never get creative because the older guys were smarter than us. We respect them too much to question whatever they've done. So whatever we are handed down is the best possible thing. So don't ever question it, don't ever challenge it. Then you can't have anything new, because then they would say that it has already been done by these older, smarter people. So veneration for seniority can be a hindrance to innovation. A little bit of irreverence is necessary, a little bit of healthy disrespect for authority or seniority or white hair or gray hair or tradition is necessary, or the standard way of doing things is necessary. Humor can also help in spurring innovative, because humor is essentially maybe something about disrespect or irreverence. So sometimes humor helps in taking a different look at things. Sometimes when you immerse yourself in a problem, that itself can you are living with the problem day in and day out, and suddenly some new idea would come, or the idea would come when you are taking a break from that problem. Maybe it will come to you in a dream, like Kekule dreamt of two serpents chasing each other or something, and he thought of the structure of benzene C6H6. So that was like two serpents trying to chase each other in a circle. So sometimes when you are obsessed with a problem, inspiration will strike you when you are ready for it, or when you are asleep, or you have taken a break and all that. That's one way of doing it. The other way is when you have free association and free flow of ideas, and especially when you do it in a group. That's what happens in brainstorming sessions, where you put a group of people, and nothing is off the table. There is nobody supposed to criticize anything. You get together to fix a problem. You start by a broad description or a general description of a problem situation for which you require innovation, and then let anybody say whatever he or she wants to say. Nothing is criticized. It can be completely irrelevant, that is also allowed. You hear something, somebody writes something on a board, and you say the first thing that comes to your mind, and that is also noted down. Then somebody sees that or hears that, and he or she says something that comes to her mind, that is also noted down. So this is, and it can be completely irrelevant. Nobody is allowed to criticize or question why you said that. This is not relevant. No, let them say whatever they want to say. Record everything. So this free flow, free association of ideas then sometimes sparks and inspires some creative, original, new thinking, and suddenly somebody says something useful. So you do this process, and that is more of a right brain kind of activity. No restrictions, no criticism, anything is allowed, no rules, no control, nothing. And you record everything, and that is the divergent part of it. You are allowed to say anything that you want, and a lot of stuff is said. Obviously some of it is irrelevant, maybe something is relevant and useful and new. So then you go to the creative mode of thinking, when you say now the critical mode, the convergent mode of thinking, and you say, okay, now we have done enough brainstorming. Now look at all the things that we have recorded and see what is useful to us. And that is when you try to think logically. So initially you think divergently, and then you start thinking convergently. So that's what De Bono said, that you put on different thinking hats. Sometimes you put the logical thinking hat, and sometimes you put the illogical thinking hat, the crazy hat, the innovative hat. So the divergent hat, it's kind of actually saying that, look, I'm going to think divergently now and forget logic for the time being and say whatever comes to my mind. Allow that to happen, and then say I'm kind of actually putting a different hat to indicate that now I'm going to think in a different way. So forcing yourself to think in a different way, maybe by actually having those kinds of hats, the convergent hats and divergent hats, or different colors hats. And he wrote a book called Six Thinking Hats. So this sort of thing can help people, because one man's output can be another man's inputs, and from that something else comes, and some spark happens, and maybe something new comes up. So brainstorming is a technique used to give birth to innovative ideas and new ideas. So it is a group process. Even individuals can have their own ideas on their own, either by planning or not exactly by planning. It happens serendipitously. They are just suddenly something happens, and it gives them a new idea. But that requires them to be thinking about that problem. So they are fixated on the problem, they are thinking about the problem, they are obsessed with it, and suddenly it strikes them. when they are not thinking, or when they are asleep, or maybe when they are thinking. So it's not a very structured process, but you do have to immerse yourself in that situation. So creativity or innovation requires the questioning and challenging things. Why this? Why not this? So that is an essential part of creativity and innovation. And that's how maybe you are able to, you keep on doing that, and you gain some value, you gain some new ideas and new initiatives and new ways of doing things and new ways of combining things, new problems, new solutions, new questions and new answers. So curiosity, humor, irreverence, challenging old and established practices and traditions, some disrespect for old established traditions and practices, asking questions, all sorts of questions, why and why not criticizing when somebody is saying something, let it be a free flow of ideas and all that. And that's how you kind of probably make this happen. And if you want to do it at an early age, then train people to think. Then you have to think them, whether it is critical thinking or creative thinking, you have to start at a young age and encourage curiosity, encourage asking questions of all sorts, and encourage people to find things their own way, and encourage people to explore and discover things and do it in their own way. That is when you need to do it at a younger age. Sometimes it is called out of the box thinking. And there is a famous exercise called the 9 dots exercise. You put 9 dots on a piece of paper and try to join them with 4 lines. And that actually kind of is out of the an example of the out of the box thinking. I think if you look it up on the, you will be able to Google it and find out. And if you don't, let me know, I'll tell you what it's all about. It's an interesting exercise in actual out of the box thinking, where you are kind of actually going outside the box to connect the 9 dots with 4 lines. So that is an interesting example of a different way of thinking, innovative thinking, challenging constraints and traditions. So that's an important and useful thing. Of course, the question is whether some people are more creative, some are less creative, and can we make people more creative or more innovative? Well, probably there is truth in both these ideas. Maybe some people are basically creative, whether creativity is in artistic areas like writing a poem or something, or it is in some sort of scientific inventiveness or whatever. It can be science as well as non scientific aspects also. But at least some sort of a culture, if you develop a culture of innovation where you try to do this brainstorming exercises and all that, then it is possible. And a culture of creativity would also attract the right kind of people, creative people. 3M is a famous company which is well known for coming out with new and innovative products. They even had a budget that every year you must come out with new ideas, and experimentation has to keep on going. You have to have a budget for experimentation, and you have targets that every year or every 3 years or something you must have some new products, you must launch something new. So they are trying to encourage and motivate that kind of a culture or structure in a very structured manner, and they have been successful at it. So it is possible to do that, and if you work at it, you have a bunch of people, you have a bunch, such a system, such a culture, then you'll be able to attract the right kind of people, and maybe the pipeline will produce some good new ideas and products. That's quite possible. Thank you.